It's Saturday, it's November the 10th, and it's the Autumn Mantic Open Day.
Oh gosh, we'll probably done about, we'll do 2 a year.
Yeah.
We'll do one around May, one around November. We're nearly coming up for 10 years, so maths kind of 20-ish.
Well,
maybe we started 12 months in, so maybe 18 or 20, but yeah, getting up to a goodly number.
What was the idea of having an open day?
I mean, I think a few things. Firstly, it's really, when you're sat in the bunker, or as it was then, the Mantic Tower, and all you're dealing with is the internet, the world of the internet, you don't actually get to meet any of the people that play your games, and you don't get a chance to play games and run demos and kind of just hang about with people who like what you do. And particularly for the staff, if you're casting, you never see the guy that loves what you do. And when we nag about quality and everything else, does it matter? Well, when they come here and these guys come and say, I love what you do and the way you cast things, the way you sculpt and the games you write, or it becomes very much personal. So kind of Friday afternoon before, everyone's going, oh, I've got to come into work tomorrow. And yet everyone gets here on Saturday morning, the noise levels are high, and when they finish at 5 o'clock, everyone goes, yeah, okay, that really is, it does recharge your batteries. So it's great, I think, for the people here. I think it's lovely for the guys that like what we do, guys and girls that like what we do. They come down, they hang around with us for a day, they ask questions, they see what we're working on, they see what we've worked on. Sometimes we do tours of the factory because people never actually get to see miniatures being casted, sculpted. We have of course this time we've got a crazy room where there's bits and bobs we've got left over, so they can go rummaging and find little bits for their conversion. So it's just a lovely relaxed day. And now we live in the internet world, we live stream bits of it and put pictures up, and all of the seminars get live streamed. So actually everybody all around can come to our open day now. It's not just limited to the people looking out to Nottingham. We've got people coming from Germany this time. And so yeah, it's just a really cool way of us meeting them meeting us, and us hanging together for a day. So we've got 2 things that are going on. We've got Vanguard, which we can come back to later, but then we've got a game called Here's Negan. It is an entirely self-contained game, and it is a board game, as in you put tiles down, you put miniatures on it, and you play across. So it's not a board game in the sense of you unfold a board and you'd use meeples, because we only make games with minis in them, but it's more like a dungeon crawler style game. And the premise is very simple. Negan has seen the sanctuary, and he says, we're going to live there. Now you clowns go out there and clear it for me. And what we realised as soon as we started designing it is that everyone would want to play Negan. And then you've got power level, here's Superman, here's the rest of the Justice League. So we went, look, Negan is actually a non-player character. He's the clock. He's your get out of jail free card. And you're his lieutenants trying to do the mission for him. Go break down the front door. Right, now we're inside. Go and turn on the electricity. Go and get the forge going again. Go and crack into the armoury. So he sets them a mission, and then on one level, you as a group work together. There's all his 5 lieutenants, John and Darryl. His Laura, his team, off they go. He walks along, and what you're going to do is run ahead of him, killing the walkers and clearing rooms. So you go in, and the more zombies you kill, the more rooms you clear, the happier, the more your reputation goes up. And as a party, if you do the mission and the more reputation you've got, the more you've won. However, so we'll learn it's entirely co-op, and if you're playing with, I'm playing with my kids, we'll just play on a straight co-op, let's just try and achieve the mission. If you're playing with your friends on a Tuesday night, you realise after turn 1 that while all of us can co-op together, I want to be Negan's favourite. Negan's favourite is the person with the highest reputation. So you win the game by being the person who does the most of the cool stuff, which invariably means that very quickly you split the party, because you realise the other guys are going to get all the reputation by killing. So you say, well, we'll go off this way. And then you go, well, should we clear the room, or should I kill that walker that I'm going to get? I'll kill the walker, and then you come into... And so you start gaming the game to become the favourite, which is perfect, except there's random events coming from the walkers, so they're constantly changing threats. So it looks like it's all clear, and then suddenly the card comes out and the roof caves in or something like that happens. Or Negan comes along and starts getting in a strop and creating noise so all the walkers come towards you, or he says, come on, you're not going fast enough, and whacks you with Lucille. So he has a card deck that just adds random elements. So sometimes he's nice, and sometimes he's not, and you gets the card. So it's really lovely. It's a really nice mix of you kind of on the meta level you're clearing through, but then these random events start happening. The walker threat starts building up, and about 2 turns from the end, you realise, we actually need to start working together again, or we're going to lose this mission. And instead of having done it in a really classy, stylish way, you're going to scrape over the line. None of you having any reputation. Some of you trying to win with 3 points, and it's a great game. It does keep. It's got the 3 phases. The kind of it develops as the story develops, and 12 missions. And because you've got that, the Negan deck is different. So Negan will do things. The event deck is different, and every time you go into a room, although the furniture set up, what's in the room is different. So there's massive replayability. With a lot of these games, people don't get past the first couple of missions but the rules are so. And the other underlying thing is all the minis are the same scale as All Out War. So that is the Negan faction. So you're not just getting a game, you're also getting Negan's faction to play in the All Out War game. So you're getting 6 minis, another 12 walkers, plus a whole scenario. And because the underlying mechanics of how you fight zombies is the same, if someone's played the board game because they don't want to play the skirmish game, they already know now how to play the skirmish game. So that transition into a slightly deeper hobby is now a very easy.
So Negan is the sort of introductory game, essentially, with All Out War being the next level up. And
All Out War, in the classic sense, is the narrative. And so we've done 5 expansions for that, which was the Atlanta camp, Green Farm, the prison, Woodbury, which was a little bit more PvP, Governor versus Rick. And quite a lot of those scenarios are still, solo, one player versus the walkers. And then finally the hunters, because after the hunters, Rick and his gang arrive at Alexandria. And our feeling is at that point, the game changes from being surviving against the zombies and small threats to a faction versus faction, kingdom versus kingdom, kind of more like war.
So Negan, what's the price point?
I think that is about £60, I think, $70.
Okay.
Something like that, might be wrong, but it's maybe not quite much that, but it's in the board game rounds. You get, I think, 24 tiles, both double-sided. You get your 6 heroes, Negan plus his 5, you get 12 zombies, and then event card decks, Negan, room and supply decks, plus all the character cards. So somewhere in that region. It's on our website, manticgames.com, and it's up for pre-order now, and it's shipping at the end of November. So Vanguard is our Kings of War. So Kings of War is our mass battle fantasy game. It's kind of classic fantasy, dwarves, elves, humans, and then we spun it off with the Basileans, who are gooder than good, the Abyssals, who are badder than bad, and they kind of literally spawned from the pits of hell. So it's got a great narrative. It's really popular around the world. However, it is a full war game. You're talking 100 figures plus to get going. You've got to build your units, and so that's quite intimidating. And it's also, you've got to plan to have a battle. And so what we did, we created a game called Kings of War Vanguard. And it's got 2 things. Firstly, it's an easier stepping stone. So there's a lot of people who want to play Kings of War but never quite get enough models painted to get on the gaming table. It's 3 hours a game. So, and the second thing was, it allows us to have some real fun with the miniatures and just creating small war bands. They're a lot more approachable. But we didn't want to set this in a different part of the world. We didn't want to create a narrative where your bands have gone off over here. We did that with Dead Zone, where you come into a dead zone, it's not a walker. And so when we're thinking about the battles, and having just been to Waterloo, you realise that the Waterloo was the end, but for a few days before there'd been Quatre Bras, there'd been skirmishes when people were fighting for position and so on and so forth. And so I thought it would make a lot of fun to create a game that is in the run into the big battle. It's where you as a general say to your captain, you say, hey, captain, come here, get a hand-picked group. I need you to go and light the beacons so that our reserve forces come to me. and they must be here. Look to the east by day 3 type stuff. Then you've got to go and do that mission to make this mission. Or you say to them, I know they're bringing up their gunpowder and all of their supplies on that chain. Go and interfere with it. Go and set fire to some cabins. Go and capture that. So it's a really strongly narrative game about the battles and just go and capture the giant. I know they've gone with the out capture giants. Go kill their teams, stop them capturing the giants they don't have in the army. So you've got a handpicked group. The other general's thinking they're going to go and try and light those beacons. Go and stop them lighting the beacons. So you've just got this, but it's instead of just to line up and fight, there's a really strong narrative. And we always say to people, plan to play each game twice. One's where you're the defender, defending the wagons, and then flip it around and be attacking the wagons. They're the 2 games, because they're both 1 hour games. You can really get a feel for how you did, I should have done that, should have done this, or save the princess, or number, and there's 12 scenarios. So it's really strongly narrative. You fight different armies every time, you fight different troops. So in that PvP space, it really seems to have caught everybody's imagination. It's a nice model count, and you're a great painter. You can paint 8 figures and they'll look amazing. For the rest of us, it's not too much to just get it done and get it on the gaming table, and so it all interacts with our new terrain, creates scenery, so you can build lovely gaming tables. It's only a 3x3, so it's not, you don't need as much space as a 6x4. So there's just a whole load of things that in the main rule book we've given you kind of army entries for every faction, and we do, but of course some people have goblins around, they have orcs around, so you can get models you've already painted from other suppliers and get playing. We are welcoming all, we're a broad church. So Vanguard's come out, it just started shipping I think about 2 weeks ago, and we're running demos here. We've also got our very, very cool new giant, so there's lots going on.
So Vanguard, I could look it up, but how much is it?
Oh yeah, so it's basically a rule book, which I think is £25, £24.99.
Okay.
Hardback, full colour.
Yeah. In
there you've got all the rules. You've got 12 scenarios. You've got all of the starter falsies. So kind of 8 entries for every force, a commander, a couple of elites, a few basics, so you can really get going. Campaign rules. So what you do is your grunts come and go. They're red shirts, they just come along and die. And then you've got your named kind of characters and heroes. They level up, so the more they kill, the more they achieve, the more victory points they get, the more they win. What invariably happens every time I've played is you set it up so your champion goes in when the grunt's attacking, thinking he'll kill it and get all the points. He spectacularly fails, and then your grunt that can't get any experience rolls his dice, gets all 8s, they all explode and kills everything, and you're like. So there we are. That's the joy of dice for you. So and then you just pick up. Well, you can start with the models you've got. And then what we've done is we've gone through a few factions, the Basileans, which are gooder than good, forces. You've got the Northern Alliance, which are a good race that live up in the north, and elves and dwarves and humans all live together in a hippie-style community, Viking hippie-style community with snow trolls. And then on the other side you've got the Abyssals, which are literally little devils and imps and all that. And you've got the Night Stalkers, crawlers, which are the worst, the living manifestations of your worst nightmares. And the magic has literally spun them out into the world. So you've got Pumpkinhead. So you've got 2 goodies and 2 baddies. And what we've done there is these factions are now fully developed, fully balanced up. So instead of having 8 entries, you've got kind of 20. So you can go on, and then you've got weapon options, troop choices. You can pick from the main range to add a few other figures in, or figures you particularly like. We're very good. More factions. Yeah. So we're doing the dwarfs in February. We've got the goblins coming out around June time. And again, these will now be 20-point factions, because we're going to have some fun sculpting them. The dwarfs are absolutely lovely, and we've been able to create a new few army types that'll end up in Kings of War later, and all of it's a great creative process. All your models work, so you can use some Kings of War models and just build a faction. You can take these and leave them as unit leaders and army leaders in your army as well, so nothing gets wasted. And And then we're going to keep putting out some more expansions online. We'll put new scenarios up. We can just add it and people can just play it. And then we're going to put out some new units just to download, so go from 8 to 10. So it's going to be constantly evolving. And then, I think we fully intend for it to be a core system forever. And because the way we've done it, just doing a new warband is just perfect straight into trade. Our trade partners can participate from. We're going to go back to Kickstarter, so there's none of that kind of time lag delay. It's just going to be every couple of months we'll put out a new faction, freshen it all up, some new cards, and away we go, so it can constantly stay fresh.
And new scenarios every now and then.
Correct. Pop them up, and then we can just do a new book with 6 more once a year. We can put them in the Clash of Kings. We haven't quite decided, but we're going to keep putting them online, and then when we've got enough, we'll go, right, how do we put them out so people can, what else needs doing if there's an errata and some new faction, we can put it all together and whatever.
Let's move on to Hellboy. Very excited about it, and loving seeing all the stuff on display. And but one of the things we talked about in the podcast was delivery in February.
Did I say February?
Yeah, originally.
Tissue lies. Yeah, no, I think.
Oh no, originally it was March, wasn't it?
We used Jan, Feb. I mean, we were trying for January.
Yeah.
And we've done this in the past. We've promised a date. We did it with Dead Zone 1, which went far larger than we thought. So what started as a project of this size, which we thought might go to here, as in 250, 500,000, went to $1.4 million. So you've got 3 times the tooling, a couple of expansions, and we had a moment where the rulebook was right, it was in, the rules all worked, but I thought they'd been slightly overworked. And wanted to pare them back, but we had a delivery date. We said, screw it, print it, Jake's written. And once you've done that, you don't have a chance to go back. So we have to then do Dead Zone 2, where we did actually do a second edition, not a 1.5, because we did the paring back we've already done. And once Hellboy went as big as it did, the eyes of the world are on it, and you've just got to take that a little bit more care and attention to make sure. And of course, the production times go up. When they say we can do that in 4 weeks for 5,000 copies, and you say, well, actually, it's 15,000 copies, they say, yeah, that's 8 weeks. That's because it just takes longer to make that plastics, to make the tooling.
And you've got to take into account the month off for New Year as well.
Which exactly hits, exactly where it is. And we are kind of going crazy to try and get it on the boat mid-Jan.
Yeah.
Then it's sailing while Chinese New Year is on, and almost certainly what's going to happen is, even if we get the Kickstarter on before that, the retail version will not be on the sea, there's no way. But we order it all at the same time, because of course the plastics that are in the core game, the retail version, are also in the thing. So they say, well, we want to run that all together. And with the Kickstarter, of course, that's much bigger than the retail version. So it's just a case of it's only a month or so, all the sculpting's done, tooling is well underway. We've had a handmade copy which is kicking around. I think you've seen some of the minis are here. The cards are out today. It's playing beautifully. James is entirely finished with all of the first wave of stuff. He's just finishing off the second wave. Box of Evil, we're at the design stage. So all underway. It is a month or two, but when we moved it back to April, and then I think Lionsgate, the TV company, realised that we'd moved to April, so the smart money was April, so they moved the movie back from January to April to coincide with our game, we think. So yeah. So yeah,
working hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Yeah. So now we'd actually moved ours just for delivery times, and then we saw the movie move back. So in some ways, it kind of feels like karma that's Hellboy's month.
Great. Yeah, I saw in the cabinet because I think it was the last figure was with the stretch goal was the turkey.
Yeah.
So that's in the cabinet. That's great.
Sculpted and done, and we have a very special secret project. Which is actually going to be available only for the month of December. Which can be up on our website, and you can go into your local store and pre-order it, and then we will be making it kind of from December through January, or as long as it takes. But we've got a very special Hellboy treat. So if you're a Hellboy fan, watch our website, be on our newsletter. During December, there's going to be something very cool to celebrate what's happening with Hellboy next year.
Fair. Do you have any of the resin in yet?
The Hellboy resin.
Yeah.
So some of those minis you've seen up there are there. We've literally just finished Vanguard. So there's the original Hellboy one that people got their hands on during the Kickstarter that we sent out to some painters. Those moulds start getting made over the next few weeks. That's Ricky's next job. We've just finished Vanguard, so we said, great, thanks, now get out to Hellboy.
Right. And those are your the resin being cast here?
Yep.
Yeah, that's not being done in China.
No. That's so all of our resin, all of our metal, anything like that, we do here. And we've got, Ricky, takes the model from the 3D sculpt, puts all the feeds into them, builds all the wells, makes the submaster moulds, and then we can put it into production moulds. And we do have quite a lot of. We gave the chance for everyone to get everything in resin, which was kind of a mad thing to do because it's a huge amount of resin moulding. But the actual production is not that big. I think most people were intimidated by it. But we'll probably just do a limited run on those. We'll make them, we'll do the submasters, and then we'll say, look, here we've got 50 of everything, and when they've gone, they've gone. So it'll be cool, but it's there for the painters and
So what's next? When are you hitting Kickstarter again?
Yeah, so we're probably going to do the Terrain Crate 2. So Terrain Crate 2 is, if we did Terrain Crate last year, and we largely picked up, I think, a lot of the scenery you need for a dungeon crawler. So when I say a lot, I mean, I think we made 60 tools or something like that. So we did all of the wizard study, the baddies study, traps. We've got doors, you've got debris, you've got the tavern, you've got a really vast array of all the things you need to do. I think it's important because you either have to have it all or none. I think one of the problems in the past is resin. You could build half a room, but you could never actually get it, and then it would break, and you'd have to paint it, and it'd come in different colours. It's just all plastic. It's unbreakable. It's all the same scale. It's all done by the same sculptor at the same time. So that also did Battlefield because we had hedges and walls and all that stuff for us, for the wargaming crowd. And then with Vanguard, we do things like Battlefield objectives. So it says the mission is go and get the dragon's egg, there's a dragon's egg. If it says go and set the beacons on fire, there's a beacon with and without fire. So we're trying to take all of those things that are normally compromised. You build out a matchsticks or some terrain from there and some terrain from there. We did the whole lot. So we're probably just going to go back and there's still a few gaps in that range. I think there was nothing in the kind of Gothic house, which both covers the dungeon, because there's the ornate bedroom, the four-poster bed, with the evil sorcerers' chambers or what have you. So I think we've got but that could also do kind of Cthulhu games. It could also do World War II games. And then we've got Blown Up Village. So we're going to there, and then we'll probably do a kind of modern mall, which could do The Walking Dead and other type things, because we have seen there is a clamour for that. So, it kind of works really well with the MDF scenery. Those are the buildings, they do that well, but I think when you go and try and do the little bits in the MDF, it becomes fiddly, a little bit hard work, whereas popping down a piece of plastic, perfect. Useful in-game, useful for role players, and that we want to be known as one of the terrain companies. It's a passion of mine, and so we're probably going to do that, and then top secret, huge big monster project based on our own IP sometime around May or June. So, but terrain break early in the year, pop it up, get the tools made, get it out and get it done.
Well, when you're able to tell us more about the top secret, please do.
I think you'll love it too. Yeah. So happily will.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ronnie.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming. So here we are in our resin room. What people don't kind of get about resin is just what a labour-intensive process it is. You get your 3D sculpt, and then Ricky takes an age to make sure they all have the feeds on them. So the resin goes in at the right points, feeds at the top and the bottom, so the air can also come out, top and bottom there, and then puts this little well on. And they're always dipped in. He then makes the master moulds. These are exact copies. And he makes a single one and then shoots that a few times to make the production moulds. The production mould looks like this. And here you are. There's the model. Put them in this rubber, and then they cut each one. And you pour the resin in. So resin is actually quite a cheap material. You take 2 parts when you mix it, then you've got exact amounts of time before it's going to set. In that time, you've got to fill this up. You've got to put it in your chamber, and you've got to get as many as you can in there. Then you pull the lid over, you set the vacuum off, the vacuum chamber, and that sucks all the air out, which sucks out all those air bubbles. It makes sure that the resin goes into every single little nook and cranny, and you get an exact copy of the original figure. And in terms of all the production processes, plastics, metal or resin, resin is by far the most accurate. It's also by far the most labour intensive. And so what people have to understand is to get that exact copy, it's hand cast, it's cast in one of these chambers, and you'll get it. And then, not only that, yes, I've got 10 models, but they're currently trapped in this huge big piece of rubber. And if I take them out, and you can see this, how tight this is. I'm pulling here quite hard. If I pull too hard and tear the mould, the mould's dead. If I break the figure as it comes out, it's broken, it cannot be used again, and you cannot recast resin. You can't remix it. Once it's set, that's it. So with metal, if it's a miscast, you throw it back in, you melt it down, you can melt it again. So you've got to be super clear, and you can see here, these are just components that have been coming out from the guys having run these molds time and time and time again to get exact and perfect copies. All the details there. But you have to be so careful with everything as you're doing it. And so we're super proud. It's taken us a while to get this up and running, but now is a proper production facility producing, super high quality miniatures. Great sculptor in Luigi, great production process through Ricky and the guys. But yeah, resin is a hand cast. Things like this, they'll be so heavy in metal, there'll be 2 or 3 parts. The detail is all there. But that mould is a huge big mould. And it will damage. And then when you've done all that, you might get 20 or 30 goes on these moulds before the detail starts to go, because the resin erodes the mould. There's tears as you open it up. So then you have to make the mould again. And
you've got the masters.
So you always have the masters. So it's much easier to make a production mould once you have the sub-masters. The masters, they have a box and they've just filled it with rubber, but then you've got to do it. Then you take one, it'll be a block. You get your knife and cut it out each time, So, and then you run it, and then it degrades and it's gone. So there is no scale benefits in resin. The first one, once you've got the mould made, costs the same as the hundredths, thousands, 10,000. Whereas once you've got a steel mould for plastics, it's very expensive to get there. But at that point, the material is relatively cheap. It's just you've got to make sure you've got enough money to pay for that metal mould. So totally different ends of the scale, both the quality, but as well the economics behind it.
It's 2018, 21st century, environmental concerns and all of that. What happens with all the rubber and the silicon moulds and things when you're done with them? Are they? Yeah, no, they're all fairly. They're not hazardous to life and planetary stuff. So no, it's definitely something we look at, and as a company we try and minimise our waste. You see quite a lot of companies that have a box this size and contents about that much in the bottom of it with tray covering it up. We make a real conscious effort to make sure there is no air being shipped, because you're using fuel to get it around, using cardboard to make it. That's the box size, it'll be full. And all of these types of things, we're doing a big drive to make sure that there's no impact to the. Yeah, I saw on your front door you've got your A rating and for the building, and so that's.
No, we're good on that, and I think it's just something. As a small business, you're always running from one to the next. But I've been involved in energy saving businesses a couple of times in the past, solar panels and light bulbs, because I think it's very important how we travel. And I think we're just talking about the next thing perhaps doing is a sprue recycling. So when you've clipped all your bits off, just gives them back, and then we'll take them off for recycling or regrinding, because actually you can't recycle that plastic through the normal route, but it can be reground and used by the factories that produce it. So it's that kind of stuff. You've got to be careful you don't end up doing more miles shipping them back than there's the benefit and that kind of stuff. But we do try and make sure that we travel lightly.